Let me just take it back to last year for a second. Last year's NBA draft, late in the first round, the Golden State Warriors selected Jordan Poole. Now, I don't watch much college basketball, so I didn't know too much about him. And I was left with two choices. One of those choices was to believe the people who had watched one highlight tape of him and gone on NBADraft.net, The Ringer, all of those mock sites, and seen that he was ranked 40th, 50th, lower in the draft than when he was picked, and to believe those people? Or the Golden State Warriors, the franchise, the general manager, the team that had drafted Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. It was a tough one. It was really a tough decision to make. In the end, I decided to go with the Golden State Warriors and back in their belief. I don't know much about college basketball, as I said, so I didn't know if he was a good pick or not. But I was going to go with the team that had drafted 3 superstars in the space of a couple of years and turned that draft success into a dynasty. That's what I went with. And in the end, well, Jordan Poole is looking like someone who's been a fantastic pick. In fact, if you look at the players that were drafted around him, even ahead of him, and then slightly after him, there's just really not anyone who's performing much better apart from Keldon Johnson and, well, Kevin Porter Jr., although he got traded, and who knows how he would have fit into a Golden State Warriors team. And I think Jordan Poole really fits this team nicely. That's the key thing. He's not only delivering more than pretty much anyone, but he's also fitting this team perfectly. So it's safe to say that the team that makes a lot of the right decisions, the team that is a dynasty, one of the most well-run organizations in the NBA, actually knew what they were doing when they drafted Jordan Poole. And, well, yeah, he's doing a pretty good job so far, and we're going to talk about that. Now, before I go any further, if you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, that would be much appreciated. I make content like this every single day, and doing so, it just helps. It's free. It would be cool. Anyways, getting back to the video, I don't want to start with just the last few games Poole has played because they've been fantastic, but I think it goes back a bit further to show that this isn't just a hot streak. He's not just suddenly turned into Jeremy Lin of the past. No, Jordan Poole has actually shown this potential in the NBA and the G League level, where I was keeping an eye on him because, similar to Kevin Porter Jr. in Houston, those guys went down to the G League and they were allowed to star in their own role, which has really provided confidence and ability to get a lot of shots up against good level competition and not just play 5 minutes and try to find a rhythm out of that. It's very hard to find a rhythm when you're playing 5 minutes a night, so he was allowed to go down to the G League, and, well, we've seen him reap the benefits. But going back just before the G League this season, back to last year, it's safe to say Jordan Poole had pretty much as bad a start to an NBA career as you could imagine. Those people that watched one game in March Madness and didn't think Jordan Poole was good, well, they were thinking they were right, because Jordan Poole started the season terribly. He was terrible. He was in bad circumstances as well. So were the rest of the Golden State Warriors, but he was struggling a lot. Like, he couldn't hit a shot. It was that simple. He could not make a shot. He looked out of his depth. However, you look past his first 35 or so games and then look towards the end of the season, where he played a good stretch of around 15 or so games, where he averaged 14 points, 4 assists on nearly 48% from the field, and 33% from 3. Pretty good numbers, and you could see as he got more confidence, as he realized he was still going to get the minutes regardless of what he was doing, he seemed to flourish, and then it helps as well just playing more game time and starting to adjust to NBA level. So that's what he showed in the back half of last season, and that gave promise for this season. However, he started this season a little bit slowly as well, out of the rotation. That happens when Steph Curry comes back, Kelly Oubre Jr., Draymond Green, all of these players were in the mix, and all of a sudden Poole didn't really have too many minutes on offer, and when he did have those minutes, there just wasn't enough to do with it. So he went down to the G League, and that's where the G League really turned into a blessing for him and the Warriors, because he got a chance to do his thing, playing with a lot more freedom, and he went on to average 22 points a game and showcased some pretty good playmaking as well. That's something that we haven't seen a ton of yet. We've seen glimpses of it, which I'll talk about at the NBA level, but he showed some signs of being a playmaker, averaging around 4 assists a game. He makes some tough passes. He can definitely make some of those passes, which he was doing at the G League level. And then from a scoring perspective, he was getting up 15 to 20 shots a night. He was shooting a decent efficiency, and he was just kind of running an offense, something that you want him to do as a spark plug off the bench for this Golden State team. And instead of just getting 2 shots a game at the end of garbage time, he was allowed to play 10 games in the G League, get up 15 to 20 shots a night all of a sudden. That's like 200 shots against good opposition. He's playing defense, he's running the offense, he's doing a number of things, and all of a sudden he comes back to the NBA and he's a changed man. Since he's come back from the G League bubble, he's been different. Like, he's been a different kind of player. Over those 7 games in which he's been back, still a short sample size, but it doesn't seem like slowing down. I was going to make this video a few days ago when it was just 5 games. Now it's been 7 games, and, well, it's safe to say not much has changed, because over those 7 games, he's averaging 21 points a game, on over 54% from the field and over 44% from three, which are ridiculous numbers in itself, but he's only accumulated a couple of turnovers. I think that might have changed since I last checked those stats, but he's still only accumulated just a couple of turnovers. He's just done a number of things really well, and some people might think, well, he's probably just played easy opposition. Not exactly. He's played against the Jazz, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Rockets, obviously not a hard team, Phoenix, all of these things, and he's played with Curry, without Curry, with Draymond Green, without Draymond Green. There's just been a lot of factors which have said to me that if he's able to play without a said player, if he's able to play against one of the top teams and against one of the bottom teams and still perform at a pretty consistent level, like over the last 7 games, it's all been in double digits. It's all been pretty efficient. He hasn't really gone up and down too much. It's been very consistent. That says to me that this seems real. And when you look at his G League numbers, you look at the end of last year, it's a much more consistent pattern than to start last year. And it looks like all of a sudden, this 15 point per game scorer off the bench might be legit. He's been able to make this jump because he looks more confident, but the Warriors just have the perfect system for him. That's why they drafted him. They drafted someone that would just fit in the hole of Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. Obviously, he's not at the level of the best shooting backcourt of all time. He's not at that level. I know, safe to say that. But what he does do, he comes off screens. He's a good off-ball mover. He shoots pretty quickly off the catch. He does all of these things that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson have made a name for themselves doing. And guys like Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, all of these guys have been taught to screen incredibly well for their shooters. And Jordan Poole's reaping the benefits of being someone that's now coming off screens. He looks a bit more confident coming off screens and shooting straight away. 1 or 2 dribbles, getting to the rim, 1 or 2 dribbles, mid-range shots. That's the kind of thing that you have for him. And he's just in a perfect system because he's in the environment where he's playing the role of Klay Thompson. Is he as good as Klay Thompson? Obviously not. Not many people are. But he's playing that same kind of role, and that's why the Warriors seem like such a perfect team for him right now. In terms of what else we've seen from Jordan Poole, he's getting to the rim pretty well. He's not crazy athletic, but he's got a pretty quick first step. When he comes off screens, he's got a pretty good idea of where his defender is, which is pretty important. Otherwise, you can easily lose track, miss a shot, the defender can put you off, but he's got a pretty good idea of where he is on the court at all times, and I think that experience playing in the G League, getting up so many shots, has definitely aided that, because he just looks so much more assured of where he is on the court at all times, and he's not afraid to let it fly. 30 feet out, he doesn't mind. That's another thing. You see no hesitation in his game. The confidence is clearly there right now. He's not failing to shoot at any point in time. He does a number of things well. Pull up mid-range shots, like I mentioned, off the dribble threes, getting to the rim 4 times a game and shooting nearly 80% over the last 7 games. That's unsustainable. That's not happening for the rest of the season, for the rest of his career. No one does that 80% a game. But what he's been able to do is leak out in transition. He's pretty smart at when the ball is turned over. He's straight away out in transition off the perimeter, and he gets to the rim pretty fast, makes a few backdoor cuts, comes off those screens and just finishes at the rim. Doesn't do too much crazy. He just does a lot of the right things. He can also playmake, as I mentioned, in the G League. He showed some signs of being a really solid playmaker. So far in the NBA, it's just been flashes, but that's all you need from him as a playmaking perspective because he's there to score. But every now and then you'll see him, if the defense collapses on him, expecting him to score, he'll drop it off to a big, or he'll find a shooter. He'll do a couple of things that you're like, yeah, that's someone who can be a solid playmaker at the NBA level. He just looks like he's NBA ready. He just looks like he's already making a huge impact for this team, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. There's no reason to believe this is just going to dip off. He's doing everything that seems sustainable. The Warriors system is perfectly suited for someone like him, which is why it was such a good draft selection, and Jordan Poole has come in and made a huge impact on this team. In terms of putting a ceiling on him, there's just no point. Well, let's say Michael Jordan just for the sake of it. He'll probably meet somewhere in between. Actually, somewhere in between would be like LeBron James. That's how good Michael Jordan is. Yeah, sorry, LeBron fans. It's a joke. It's a joke. They're probably close to on par. But anyways, who cares about that right now? We're not having that ESPN FS1 debate that they have every single day. Michael Jordan, LeBron James. How do they fit into Jordan Poole's development? No. Jordan Poole's ceiling, I don't know. All-star level, who knows? He could be an all-star. I could definitely see it happening. When you've got these players around him and he's got the confidence, he's already shown that he can average 20 points a game over 7 games without Stephen Curry, without several key players going up against good NBA opposition. He dominated the G League. What else is there to prove? At the moment, he just looks like a steal for the Warriors, and the Warriors look like they've done it again. Just clap it up for the Warriors because they seem to always make the right choices. In free agency, traded away D'Angelo Russell for Wiggins and a potential top 5 pick, which would be absolutely ridiculous. They just make decisions after decisions that turn out to be so good, and Jordan Poole is the newest one of those decisions that has turned out to be just a great inspired pickup. All those people that were doubting him and doubting the Warriors, what do you have to say? Jordan Poole averaging 20 points a game over his last 7 games. Looks like a perfect fit for this team, doing everything right. Jordan Poole is just a fantastic pickup for the Warriors, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because he's kind of dipped under the radar, but he's been playing fantastically. Anyways, if you did enjoy the video, a like would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel. Have a good day. Bye.